He has been hailed as the Mark Twain of the 80s. He has been slammed as a racist, sexist, redneck. He is the controversial Atlanta Constitution columnist who keeps his readers steamed but keeps them reading. Enough people buy his books, listen to his records, and go to his speeches so that the son of an alcoholic drifter from a small southern Georgia town now drives in a Mercedes to his Buckhead home. He parks the Mercedes next to his truck. One reviewer wrote, "Imagine Andy Rooney with a Georgia accent and a sense of humor." Ladies and gentlemen, meet Louis Grizzard.
60 Minutes is filming this. They're doing kind of an expose on me. You know, a University of Georgia graduate makes as much money as I do. Got to be a crook. I mean, no question about that.
He's not a crook, but he does make a lot of money peddling his brand of down-home country humor. He sold more than 1 million copies of his 7 books, and today he travels through the Southeast like a rock star. One night here, one night there. More than 90 of these appearances for up to $10,000 a pop.
Oh, no. I knew I was going to do it.
In order to catch up to Louis Grizzard these days, you sometimes have to jump on whatever vehicle he's driving at the time. Lousy.
You
don't usually hit that bad, do you?
Nope.
I see no women playing out here. Why?
We don't allow women on the golf course certain times. They may play any time before 7 a.m., any day during the week, or any time after 11:30 at night. They come on. After the news show is over, they come out here and play.
You find out quickly with Louis Grizzard, what you read in his columns is what you get. 3 minutes into a conversation with him, and he's already managed to infuriate more than half the human population. At 39, Louis Grizzard is seemingly at the pinnacle of his career, making a good living saying things others have better sense to keep to themselves. In case you haven't been offended lately, put yourself in one of these groups. Sit back in your chair and get ready to throw things. Here's Vintage Grizzard on women.
I have no problem with women doing the same job as men and being equally paid. The only thing, I just don't think women should be able to vote or play golf on the same golf courses as men.
How about homosexuals?
I still don't have any problems with gays. It just don't float down the Chattahoochee River naked. That's the only thing I have to say.
Then there was the nasty letter from the Arab Anti-Defamation League.
I just said the towel heads who hijack airplanes. And I said, you know, we American ought to hijack an airplane. We could have several demands. One is that they wear clothes that match.
Is Louis a racist?
I think that probably the main reason anybody called me racist is because I make fun of Andy Young. He happens to be black. He's the mayor of Atlanta. If you're white, I still make fun. I make fun of Leroy Stinchcomb and the governor and the president and all that. To me, when racism will end will be when a guy like me can criticize Andy Young and nobody says it's racist.
So what would he call himself?
I'm not black, I'm not gay, I'm not a woman, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not a left-handed Chinese aviator. But finally, thanks to Andy, I know what I am. I'm a smart-ass white boy.
I sense something that I don't sense in your column, that I sense while I'm sitting here talking to you, and that's that you really are as I am when I get criticized. You really do take it to heart.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any question about that, that you said earlier, that you got to have an ego to do what you and I do in the first place.
Louis Grizzard, by his own admission, is lost. A man born into the 40s and confused in the 80s. He is like the manual typewriter he insists on using. Still functional, but fossilized in another time. Some people say you're a redneck.
I am in the sense that I'm from the South, and I like drinking beer, and I like country music, and I like football. I like old dogs and children, watermelon wine, and all those things. I'm not a modern man, and never will be, and don't want to be, you know.
While you'd think a man who writes 4 columns a week in more than 200 papers nationwide would take himself rather seriously, Louis's humor sells because he refuses to do just that. For example, jet-setting Louis Grizzard made fun of his fear of flying during an appearance on The Tonight Show.
I did not have a good flight last night. I flew from Atlanta. I never have I don't fly sober anymore. That's helped me a whole lot. The thing, if you ever notice the first thing you see to go to airport's a big old sign that says terminal. That gets me started. Right there.
In fact, when Grizzard strayed from what he knew, from anecdotes about his life, he often found he missed the mark. For a short time, Grizzard worked for WSB, writing columns for the air. He would say he was less than effective.
Springtime in Atlanta. Its blossoms, its blooms, its beauty. Would you really want to be anyplace else? The basic problem went wrong is I didn't have no idea what I was doing. It was easily the second or third worst experience of my life. And I've got it up there in front of a couple of divorces and at least one of my heart surgeries.
Lewis has had 2 heart operations for a birth defect, sold a couple of 100,000 copies of a book he wrote about it, and still uses the experience as material in his act.
I had a valve replacement, and they put a pork valve in me. A pig's valve is what I have now. And I'll tell you what, every time I pass a barbecue joint, my eyes start filling up with tears.
Why in the world do you continue to smoke and drink when you know it's bad for your health?
Here's what I'm going to do. When I'm 40, shaving off my beard and quit smoking. I promise. I swear. What's wrong? I swear. Just don't fuss on me about it. See, when you fuss on me about it, it makes me nervous. I don't like women fussing at me. My daddy, I dedicated a book to the memory of the late Major Louis M. Grizzard, who fought the Communist Chinese, the North Koreans, and the Germans, and once said to me, son, there ain't nothing in this world meaner than a quarrelsome old woman.
And he's quarreled with the best of them. 3 ex-wives in 20 years.
Well, there'll be a law in this country that you can't get married till you're 35, and when you're 35, you got to live this person for a year. Then if you want to get married, you can.
Are you ready to get married again?
Well, I've kind of things going to happen. I had this girl I was dating, and we had a date for tomorrow night, and she just called and told me she's engaged to somebody else, so that's down the tubes. Yeah, I want to get married again sometime. I really do. I mean, not today or tomorrow or anything like that, but I can't take care of myself, really, and it gets lonely, anything else. I think that after 3 times, I really know now what I'm going to have to do, and it's just the point of reaching that I'm willing to do that. One of my problems in life has been that I've always been a little feeling that maybe somewhere out there there's a party going on, everybody's having a great time, and I'm not there.
Do you want children?
Well, I don't know. I want to launch anybody like me else on the world.
Your father, for all his brilliance and his fun, he also had a dark side, which you've talked about. He had an alcohol problem.
Yeah, he had a different alcohol problem than most people. What he had, my daddy would not have a drink for 6 hours. He would never take a social drink, I mean, never, beer, nothing. But about once every 6 weeks to 2 months, he'd go to a hotel room somewhere and drink all the whiskey there was on earth. And he was a bender drinker. And I think, that he was drinking to forget. And here's a guy who went through not 1 war, but 2 wars. And never was the same. But after he and my mother divorced, I think the biggest thing was that he really missed her and realized he couldn't have her, and he was very lonely. He died a pauper. He had a watch and a ring. That's all he had. And the alcoholism obviously affected his health.
Lewis has written a book about his father, My Daddy Was a Pistol. It's due out in the fall. Coincidentally, Lewis's 3rd wife is coming out with a book too, How to Tame a Wild Boar. Although she never knew Lewis's father, she says she could be writing about both of them. A business associate said one day he and Lewis were having a few beers, and Lewis confided that he always worried someone would walk into his office and remind him he is just Louis Grizzard from Moreland, Georgia.
There's a book out one time, it's still out, I guess, called The Imposter Syndrome. And what I go around thinking all the time is one of these days they're going to figure this out and come and get my typewriter and my car and everything and say, you've been tricking us all these years.
Lewis may have one more trick up his sleeve. ABC TV last month agreed to buy a script for a television pilot based on Grizzard's life.
Next on Monica.